system for no-release contracts with non-recurring terms. SAP Ariba's contract compliance functionality enables your organization to model complex contract terms that you have negotiated with your suppliers. One such type of contract is a no-release contract with non-recurring terms. These types of contracts contain terms that do not require a release or a purchase order in order to procure the material or service. Supplier invoices are created directly against the contract and are approved by an invoice approver. These contracts also do not require automatically recurring payments. Payments are triggered once an invoice is received and approved. For the purposes of this demonstration, we will assume that we are creating a contract for armored car security services, and we will cover the key contract terms fields related to creating a no-release contract with non-recurring terms. If your organization has enabled the contract authoring functionality, you will access the contract terms document directly from the Documents section of the contract workspace. If your organization has not enabled the contract authoring functionality, you will create a contract terms document directly. In this example, we have the contract authoring functionality, so we will access the contract terms document from within the contract workspace by clicking the contract terms document and selecting Open. First, note that the contract terms document is a wizard with 9 sections on the left. The first section that we will configure is the definitions section. The definitions section will pull in initial detail from the contract workspace, such as the contacts, effective and expiration dates, and the supplier. If you would like to change the details that are not editable directly within the contract terms, you may update the information directly within the contract workspace. Now let's review some of the key fields in the definition section. The contract type is an important field which defines the level at which the contract terms will apply. Item level contracts apply to the line items from a supplier. Commodity level applies to a specific category of spend from a supplier. Catalog level applies to a particular catalog of items from a supplier. And supplier level applies to all goods and materials from the supplier. For this example, I will select an item level contract. The next key field is release required. This field specifies if a purchase order is necessary to buy from this contract. In this scenario of a non-release contract with non-recurring terms, a purchase order is not necessary, so select No. Notice that changing this field removes some fields and adds some additional fields. Next, select Yes for Allow Invoicing Against Contract. Selecting Yes will give the supplier the ability to submit invoices based on the terms of the contract, since there will be no release or purchase order to invoice against. The next key field is Allow suppliers to add non-catalog items to invoice. Select Yes if you would like your suppliers to have the ability to add additional line items to the invoice that are not already defined in the contract. For this example, I will set the field to No. And the final key for creating a non-release contract with non-recurring terms is the Allow Receiving Against the Contract field. You may optionally set this field to Yes or No depending on your organization's requirements for receipts. If receiving is set to No, add an invoice reviewer to verify services performed. If receiving is set to Yes, the invoice will be verified against the receipt for confirmation of services. In this example, I will allow receiving against the contract. Once you have completed with your definition section, please click Next. The next section is the Limits section. In this section, you can define the minimum and maximum limits to purchase against the contract. You can also define approvers if the minimum or maximum levels are passed. Let's assume that this is a $250,000 contract and set the maximum limit to $250,000. And click Next. The pricing terms section is where you can define the contracted terms for the items, commodities, catalogs, or supplier depending on the contract type selected in the definition section. In this scenario, we selected an item level contract, so we will define the contract terms at the item level. Click Add Items for materials and services. Since the contracted items in this scenario are services that do not currently exist in the catalog, select the Add icon to the right of the search bar. This will allow you to find a custom material or service for the contract. First, enter the description of the material or service. In this example, we are creating a contract for armored car security services, so we will add a line called Location 1 Deposit Pickup. Next, under the commodity code field, type Guard Services and select Search More. Select your final commodity code. Next, we will enter our negotiated rate of $100 for this service. Finally, enter the supplier part number. In this example, we will specify pickup location 1. Then click OK. Optionally set minimum and maximum limits specific to the service. Define a complex pricing structure with tiered pricing or terms-based pricing, and set accounting details and shipping information for the line item. Click Done. In the case of armored car security services or any other location-based service, you may also choose to create additional terms per location. Note that both summary and individual invoicing will be supported for your suppliers. If multiple approvers are required for individual location invoicing, create individual line items with GL accounting specified for each location. This allows proper cost allocations and easier reporting without the need to generate an SOW for each line item. Receiving is not recommended in this scenario because each line item will share a single receipt. Allowing multiple invoice approvers in lieu of receiving is ideal. For easier management, multiple approvers can be supported via the approval lookup table. Once all of the individual line items have been added, click Next. Optionally enter milestones. This section is typically applicable for project-based work. Click Next. In the Access Control section, optionally define users that will receive notifications based on available contract limits. Click Next. In the Payment Terms section, define the payment terms to be applied to payments related to this contract. The tool defaults to your organization's default payment terms. Click Next. In the Appendix section, optionally upload supporting documents such as the actual executed agreement and click Next. Add comments if necessary and click Save. To make your contract active, click the link for the contract terms document and select Publish. Depending on your organization approval rules, you may need approval before the contract is approved. To view the required approvers, click on the Approval Flow tab. Finally, click Submit once your contract terms are fully approved. The contract will be active and suppliers will be allowed to invoice against it. Thank you for your time today. If you need more information about enabling categories of spend with the Ariba Contract Compliance functionality, contact your customer engagement executive or access connect.ariba.com.